Hello, I'm Vladimir Dacian from Historic Houses of Romania, Casa de Epoch, and I'd like to welcome you to my new Facebook podcast. Tonight I would like to speak about the striking similarities between the Trajan's Column in Rome, that big monument commemorating 1900 years ago the conquest of Dacia, which is now occupied mainly by the state of Romania, and Bayeux Tapestry, which commemorates William the Conqueror winning the battle against King Harold of England and the beginning of modern England, let's put it that way. It's an arch between the two ends of the continent through this kind of artistic representation of pivotal historic moments in the history of those regions. And in a way, it's my mission, I like to tell you that, to make an arch between Britain and Romania. I've been born in Romania, but got my education in Britain. And I would like to bring closer these two ends of the European continent. So, in a way, I see it as my mission, being over here in Romania, working in the field of historic houses, using British historic houses and historic architecture methodology and notions, and also through the medium of the English language and the social networking over the internet to make known Romanian heritage and the honor of Southeast Europe to the British public and generally to the English-speaking public all over the world. And going back in time, I think these are some of the first commonalities between the two lands. Trajan's Column celebrates a cataclysmic event in this part of Europe, the downfall of the kingdom of Dacia, or barbarian kingdom, under Rome. Rome used more than 200,000 soldiers against a very quarrelsome and powerful native kingdom, barbarian kingdom. That army was one of the largest in Europe until modern time, the Roman army. And the victory of Trajan, the Emperor Trajan of Rome, in 106 after 2 wars with the Dacian kingdom, is celebrated by this monument in Rome. In fact, it was an entire forum there, Trajan's Forum, in one which the best preserved is that column, commemorating on a kind of frieze going like a spiral along the shaft of the column the 2 wars. There are many documents showing the Trajan's Column. I collected myself, I have a small collection of Trajan's antique images of Trajan's Column, like this album and photo of Rome, 19th century. This is Trajan's Column, and the column itself still surviving. This is the forum around it, and 2 libraries, Latin and Greek library. Over here, it's an 18th century engraving of it, or I have even again an early photograph, 1880s photograph of it over here, album and photograph of its base. It is said by many historians and researchers that the Bayeux Tapestry commemorating the Conquest of England by William the Conqueror in 1066 against King Harold of the Saxons, English king already by that time, is very much inspired by Trajan's Column. In fact, it's said that one of the historic personality which is responsible for the manufacturing of Bayeux Tapestry has traveled to Rome and was able to see the Trajan's Column and admire it, and came with the idea back to England when the tapestry was commissioned, and it's a direct inspiration from it. At that time in the 11th century, the Trajan's Column was easily visible from the church next to it. Later on, it was engulfed in buildings, so it's very plausible. I have here a nice book about the Bayeux Tapestry. It's a nice brochure from wartime, printed in 1943. It's for increasing the morale of the population at the height of the war in Britain. It's a series of patriotic books about British history. In this series of small books, I have a few of them, found them at antique bookshops in Britain. And you can really see it unfolding. Some color planches over here, panels, but most of them are depicted in order here, black and white. And it's absolutely obvious the Trajan Column's influence. The way how the narrative is put is like using a template, and thus making the Bayeux Tapestry. So I found it extraordinarily interesting, this bridge between the two ends of the continent, England, Britain, and Romania. Trajan's Column is considered by Romanians, who are speaker of a new Romance language, as the birth certificate, precisely because of that war. It was that absolutely extraordinary change in this part of Europe, which got Romanized, and the first green shoots of the Romanian people emerged a few centuries later to nowadays the local speaking Romance language, akin with Italian, French, Spanish, Portugal, is the Eastern European Romance family of languages. The Romanian and its dialect and its related languages in the Balkans. And Trajan's Column is the birth certificate. The same for the British state, for England initially, the Bayeux Tapestry. And it's such a link between them, inspired from one another. So I wanted to point out this fact. It's already well known in historiography, and it's quite a lot of serious research is done on it, but it's more a kind of scholarship known among scholars, not much among the wider public. So through this kind of podcast and to the environment of the English language, I want to make this known on a much larger scale. So I hope that I'll be successful in that regard, and making a bridge between Britain and Romania, which is, as I said, in a way, is my mission. Thank you and goodbye.